I spent a long time trying to decide how I was going to narrate the opening of this video, trying to come up with a funny little bit to do or trying to make a specific point that I could use to illustrate a thesis. But the truth is, this is just the hardest I've ever styled on anyone in this game, and I just wanted to show it off. Like, cards on the table, I just wanted to brag a little bit here. So everybody gather around, get some snacks, dim the lights, get yourself comfortable, and let's you and I just watch a good old-fashioned gang spank together. Actually, wait, no, I did think of something, but I have to wait to record it until my cat stops misbehaving. Right now he's swatting at the blinds of my front window. Earlier, he was tearing apart this big wad of butcher paper on the floor behind me that came in one of his Chewy packages. It was packing material, you know. Normally, I would stop him because the sound of it drives me crazy and it's a lot to sweep up. But today is his birthday. He just turned 3. I got him a new teaser toy and a catnip fish. I got him the catnip fish because he really loves these catnip bananas that I've gotten for him before. Just absolutely goes crazy for him. So I went to the pet store up the street earlier today to get one for him. And they don't carry him anymore. So I got this catnip fish instead. It's the same manufacturer. It's the same color. It's the same shape. It's basically the same toy. And he won't touch it. But he is going nuts for the butcher paper from his Chewy package, which is just classic cat behavior. I love it when a cat acts just like a classic cat. He almost died as a baby, so it's hard to tell him no on special occasions like this. He's like the schoolyard bully who almost died of cancer, so his mom just kind of lets him do whatever and you can't whip his ass because he's the kid who almost died of cancer. But he's just so cute, though. I love him so much. Everybody say happy birthday, Big B, down in the comments. Let me know down in the comments if you think my cat should have a happy birthday. God, look at this slick turn. The no-look chilling miss dodge. Doesn't really have anything to do with what I was going to tell you. That's just really slick. Jesus, dude, are you still going? God forbid he plays with a toy that I bought him with my human money that I work very hard to earn. Oh, but he's so happy, isn't he? Happy birthday, bub. Okay, I think he's finally calmed down. So anyway, the point I was trying to make was that when you... Dang it, we're out of time. Yeah, well, maybe next time. So I've mostly been invading at level 15 with this strength build. Here it is, here's the numbers and the gear and everything. I have filed this build down to such a sharp point. This build does exactly what I wanted to. I think I've found every gap in the build, and I think I've filled them all. Against overleveled phantoms, it's dangerous. Against your average level appropriate level 20 or 30 co-op duo, it has the ability to be tremendously cruel, but it's not fancy or stylish or even especially creative. It's just a relentlessly efficient build. Honestly, calling it a build at all is generous. I think I put 1 point each into strength and endurance and like 4 points into vigor. Everything else is talismans and the physic. I only have 1 talisman slot that I can swap around. I am rocking the +5 strength talisman, the arsenal charm, and the source seal, and if I take even just one of those off, the build becomes almost non-functional. Speaking of talisman slots, I went and beat the Godfrey Shade at level 15, and it fucking sucked. It took me a whole evening before I finally got it. I'm proud of myself for doing it, but I don't know if I ever want to do it again. A lot of these clips are earlier iterations of my setup from before I finished tinkering with everything. The first clip I showed you from the lake has the build in what is very close to its finished state. I think the only thing I changed after that clip is that I swapped out the Flaming Strike Knight Rider glaive for a Flaming Strike regular glaive. At +3 with this little strength, they both do the exact same amount of damage, but the regular glaive is 2 Miyazaki's lighter, and the strength requirement is lower, so I can one-hand it without having to use the strength physic. I like to one-hand the chop glaives with a parry shield sometimes, and I noticed that I had been accidentally one-handing the Knight Rider glaive without meeting the strength requirement, which of course puts your damage in the toilet, but I hadn't noticed it in the heat of the moment. Plus the regular glaive gets the horizontal sweep R2, which is a lot more useful for fighting teams. Okay, let's talk hardware. If you rewind back to where I was showing you my inventory, you can see that I've got my most frequently used fighting weapons, the Claymore, the Glaive, the Lordsworn Straight Sword, and 3 Colossal Swords, pretty much clustered in the center of my inventory up at the top. Those are the ones that I swap between the most, so I just want them close to each other. The rest of the inventory is mostly utility tools. I've got another straight sword in the top left corner with Stormblade, and it's heavy infused, so I can put sleep grease on it if I need to. That's the tool I reach for when I really just have to be a dick. Side note real quick about this room. I mentioned in my last video that I don't really fight in this room anymore. I just run on through, and this is exactly why. The Placiduous Axe's Ruin right off the bat, it's insane that I fought in this room at all, having just seen that, knowing that this Phantom could do that. But, you know, fancy ass endgame setup is no match for the good old fashioned Storm Stomp Claymore. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the Stormblade heavy infused straight sword. I think I've only used Stormblade in an actual fight once, and I've never used the sleep grease. I just have it on hand for, I don't know, in case of emergency, or in case of cheater, or in case of whatever, I don't know. And then I've got the 2 poke halberds that I use as status build-up sticks, and I've got the Serpent God's Curved Sword for super long invasions to get health back, because I don't have the Taker's Cameo. Do you remember earlier when I said that this build has the capacity to be tremendously cruel to level-appropriate co-op duos? This is the kind of thing that I am talking about. There was no need for me to do this and blast into Fort Height with the Guts Greatsword cold infused and 2-tap both of them. Like, that was unnecessary. I did actually feel pretty bad about that one. It kind of made me reconsider my approach to how I start out these invasions. Okay, what else? Real quick. I've got a Cold Grossmesser with Spinning Slash, just for the hell of it. I've got a Partisan with Impaling Thrust and another Glaive with Piercing Fang, because every build needs a can opener or two. I've got a Frostbite Lance with Storm Collar, which you'll see me use in this invasion to no effect for Get Off Me AoE, and I've got a Lucerne with Raptor of the Mists just for fun shenanigans with the Spear Talisman. The 4th row of weapons is mostly just for funsies. I almost never use any of them. The exception is the Grave Scythe with Determination, which is just another can opener in case I need to get through a fingerprint shield or something. Stuff like the Dismounter is great. I have it bleed infused in case I ever need bleed, but I just never think to use it. And the bottom row is just strictly utility gear. I've got the shield all the way in the bottom left corner so that I can hard swap to it very quickly. Got the Clawmark Seal right next to the shield for the very same reason. Then the Hand Ballista, never leave home without it. The Sacrificial Axe to get FP back during long invasions. And the Dagger with Endure. I don't actually have enough equip load to keep the Dagger as a soft swap with every weapon, so I just never use it for crits. I was gonna say that this build doesn't have an ounce of fat on it, but that's not strictly speaking true, because it does have weapons on it that I have never used in anger in an invasion before. I think one of the talismans that I have is just a placeholder so that I have 2 complete rows for easier swapping back and forth. So I guess it's not completely without any fat on it, so to speak, but I guess it's, I don't know, well marbled. That's not really anything, is it? Let's talk about my talismans. I mentioned earlier that I don't have much wiggle room, and that's true. 3 out of 4 of them are essential to making the build just like function at a baseline. So in the one slot that I do have to swap around, I've got the stamina talisman on by default, just because I get chased around a lot and I swing big weapons and it takes a lot of stamina. I've got the +5 faith talisman, the hammer talisman, the regen talisman, and the spear talisman close by. I keep thinking about maybe going and getting the dagger talisman to make my crits hurt more when I land a parry, but I think that'd maybe be overkill. I've mentioned that I don't want to get the arrow sting talisman for the same reason, but I do think I'm going to go get the one that increases your range. Maybe swap out like the roar medallion. On the bright side, I have so little vigor at this level and so many flask upgrades that one flask almost refills my whole health bar, so I don't need the Estus talisman, and it's really nice to be able to cut down on the amount of talisman swaps that I do in the course of an invasion. The physic is pretty boring. It's just the Opaline hard tier for better defense and the +10 strength tier, which is partly for better damage, but mostly for better defense. 10 more levels in strength doesn't get me that much more damage at this weapon upgrade level, just because the scaling really hasn't started to ramp up yet. But it does give me 10 more levels of flat defense, and strength specifically increases your defenses a little bit more, and that helps offset the absorption penalty from the source seal, or at least that's the idea. I don't actually know how much of a difference it actually makes. I've got a few spells attuned, but I really only ever use Bestial Vitality for the regen. That's what the +5 Faith Talisman is for. It brings me from 9 faith up to 14, so I can use the Claw Mark Seal and cast a couple of these spells. I've got Catch Flame and Bestial Sling for mix-ups and chase downs, just because it's basically free to have them on the build. But I never use them. My cast speed is garbage, and they don't do great damage. But I just keep them on just for the hell of it. I've also got Flame Cleanse Me, because I still don't have very many boluses, and it fucking sucks to farm the materials to craft them. But I don't think I've ever even needed it. Insane status conditions are really rare at this level, even from over-leveled phantoms. So it just hasn't been a going concern. And that's the gist of the build. Like I said, it's not complicated at all. It doesn't do cool combos. It's not flashy. It doesn't innovate. It doesn't do any of that. All it does is stay alive, kill phantoms, kill hosts, and keep it moving. Invading at level 15 just rocks. I am still having so much fun. It's my favorite invasion bracket lately, I think. Not to say that invading at level 15 is, all sunshine and rainbows. You'll see in this clip here, you are still not immune to being one-shot or two-shot by an insanely high-level phantom, but the bar for doing that is way higher. Like, it takes just a nuclear bomb to do that to you in 1 or 2 goes. But yeah, overall, still a huge fan of level 15 invasions. I would recommend it for anyone who is curious about doing invasions, who just wants to, try it out, see how it treats them. It's been a great place for me to get my sea legs back after a long hiatus from invading, and it's really let me focus on the fundamentals. Like, I am actually a good invader now. I was never that good when I was invading at 80 and 90 and 150 or whatever, without really getting a handle on the basics. When I would win, a lot of times it was just luck, but nowadays when I win, a lot of the time is skill. I am outplaying my opponents a lot of the time, and that feels great. I've become the kind of person who parries in PvP in a FromSoft game, which I never thought I would be. I know how to fight 3 guys at a time without panicking now. I get to fight in Stormvale and Castle Morn all the time, which is just the best. I know I've talked about that before, but I just adore those dungeons, Stormvale especially. I think my next few videos, if I can manage to tear myself away from level 15 invasions long enough, are going to be about the version of this build that I have at level 40 with +8 weapons, +3 somber. I made it from scratch, but it's basically a clone of this one with more vigor, strength, and endurance, but it's the same fashion, the same talismans, the same pretty much everything else. I've had some great invasions with it already, but I just want to spend more time getting to know the bracket. There's a lot more lake gankers and crab shack duelists, which is exhausting, but there's also activity in other places, and that makes it worth it. I've run out of things to talk about, so please enjoy the rest of this invasion and the rest of this video with no voiceover. Okay, goodbye.